Welcome back. All right, some more news of the day for all you fine people on the internet. It is still Monday. It is still October the 6th. So starting off at the top of the board, that is normally how these things work. JT Miller and Artemi Panarin are good to go for the New York Rangers for the season opener. As I've been saying, that's the whole thing. Just make sure they're ready to go for when the games matter. And so the Rangers will have a mostly healthy, everybody's going to have a mostly healthy lineup to start the season. Miller and Panarin in the lineup for the Rangers. Mackenzie Blackwood is not traveling with the Colorado Avalanche, so he is still seen as week to week. We'll see how long he's out, how much time he's going to miss. It does mean Wedgwood's going to get into his share of games for Colorado. Power, not at practice for the Buffalo Sabres today. He could still play in Thursday's season opener. There hasn't been anything official regarding that yet. Owen Power, very important player on that defense for Buffalo, so I'm sure they're hoping he'll be in the lineup for them this coming Thursday. The Washington Capitals dealing with some injuries as well. Matt Roy, upper body injury. Dylan McElrath with a lower body injury. They're still being evaluated, so it looks like they could very well start the season on the injured reserve for the Washington Capitals. A lot of teams today that are making moves that may very well be related to cap, may very well be related to how LTIR is going to work and all this fun stuff. This is why that while it's fun to see the opening night rosters, we know that within a week's time we're going to see a lot of guys being called up and sent down. So, we'll see how Washington does without Matt Roy. I don't know if McElrath's going to be playing on their team once he is healthy or if they'll send him down. My guess is he probably gets sent down, but who knows? Cam York, dealing with a lower body injury. He, of course, of the Philadelphia Flyers. He is questionable for Thursday's opener. So, there are a number of teams not playing until Thursday. Thursday is also going to be the first day where I debut the new style of reviewing games on, and I'm using 10 games as the standard. If there's 10 or more games, I will use the new way of doing the reviews where I don't do a whole bunch of notes. And there's other fun stuff I'm going to be thrown into those reviews instead. So I guess that in the case of Buffalo and Philly, that's where they'll first show up. Drake Batherson placed on injured reserve for an upper body injury he suffered during the first week of training camp. Not really a surprise there. He's supposed to be out for a little bit. Interesting notes about who did or didn't make the team for Ottawa. Yakimchuk demoted to Belleville, whereas Lexell made the team. So Ollie Lexell makes the team. Good for him. Likely that will change once Ottawa gets a little bit healthier, but who knows? Maybe he keeps himself on the roster. He had a strong preseason. The Pittsburgh Penguins, and the reason for me wearing a Penguins jersey, a Crosby jersey to be exact, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang are starting their 20th season where all three players have been together. They know how rare this is, how special it is that they're able to stay together and play as much as they have on the same team. So is this the final year where all three of them are together? That's a question mark. And while everybody's talking about McDavid and how he didn't take as much money as he could have, might I offer up Sidney Crosby as another example of a player who took way less than market value the last time that he signed a contract. Sometimes wanting to win and giving your team a chance to win is a thing. So while everybody talks about the no taxes when it comes to certain franchises in the NHL, there are players who they take less. They want to give a team a chance to win. Crosby having done that, now McDavid looking like he's going to be a player that's going to do that as well, and I think that's good. I think that's the right move for them. And so Crosby still making $8.7 million is the cap hit for him. That's been his cap hit forever. I think that's a huge bargain. So when I hear people saying, "Oh, the McDavid contract's the best in the league," I have Crosby stuck in my head a little bit, thinking Crosby's is pretty cheap too. Even though I understand Crosby's closer to the end of his career than is Connor McDavid, and I understand that McDavid could have got a lot more on the market this summer. But yeah, Crosby could have got a lot more out of his last contract too. Quillen is on the roster for Toronto, so there's some Leaf fans not happy about this. Also, some pointing out that when the Toronto Maple Leafs initially posted their roster on X, that they left Tavares off, so they had to do a new post with Tavares included, because, it looked weird not seeing Tavares in the group. But Quillen's apparently just on the roster for cap reasons. So Cowan is likely to get the recall. So Easton Cowan sent down for now, but he's likely going to get the recall once tomorrow arrives and players are placed onto the injured reserve list. So giving them a little more space. Quillen probably gets sent down to the Marlies. and that's where Cowan gets called up. So just the playing around with who is or isn't on the team to try to get the optimum cap savings. That's the important thing. So the Florida Panthers revealing their cup rings ahead of tomorrow's banner raising, and all the guys wearing those rings. And it says right in there that they don't apologize to anybody, and it has the names of the teams they beat on their way to winning the Stanley Cup crossed out. So Florida very clearly not making any apologies for how they play. Sam Bennett saying that, the way they play tough hockey, and they've won back-to-back Stanley Cups. So if anybody's going to beat Florida, they're going to have to overcome that, and somebody will at some point. It could happen this season. Teams look unbeatable until they're defeated, and then all of a sudden they don't look quite as unbeatable anymore. The Vancouver Canucks have 4 members of the Calder Cup winning Abbotsford Canucks making it onto the roster this year, which I think is great. I don't know how many of them stay up, but I think it's great that 4 of them made it. Baines, Lecker-Mackey, Ratu, and Carlson all make it onto the roster. They have good chemistry with one another. I think this was the right call by the Vancouver Canucks. I do like how they've handled their roster coming out of the preseason. It was a preseason. I believe they went 4-2 during the preseason. So, things have gone pretty well for Vancouver so far, understanding that the games that matter start this week. And so things can change quickly. J.J. Moser given a 2-game suspension by the National Hockey League. Also, the NHL clearly does not want any more shenanigans between Florida and Tampa. They have fined the Lightning $100,000, which, considering that every team in the NHL is worth well over $1 billion, $100,000's not much. Coach Cooper fined $25,000 himself. So the NHL wanting this to be done. I understand people wanting more done against Florida. I'm not saying that Florida couldn't have had more done against them, but the NHL clearly wants this to be it. They want this to be done. So the one-upsmanship we've seen for a while now between these two teams, the NHL wants that at a finish. I don't think the NHL wants more highlights of games like the one we saw that finished the preseason for those two teams circulating around North American media. It ends up making the NHL look bush league, so they really do not want that. The Calgary Flames, both Huberdeau and Pospisil, starting the season on injured reserve. Parekh and Gradin both make the team. So that's a couple of rookies on the team. A lot of rookies in the NHL this year. It does make for some very, very fun viewing. I really do enjoy that part of the season, especially early in the season when we see these kids coming in and see what they're able to do. So the fact that we've got 5 from this year's draft class making it to the NHL, a lot of rookies making it from previous draft classes as well. I think we're going to have a really strong rookie class in the NHL this year. It should be a lot of fun. The Boston Bruins announcing today that Zdeno Chara's number 33 is going to the rafters. That will take place on January 15th before their game at home against the Kraken. I honestly thought that if you're going to put Chara's jersey in the rafters, why not a home game against Montreal? Why not a home game against Pittsburgh? A home game against somebody they had like a big playoff rivalry with during his time there. But, all right, it's a game against Seattle January 15th. I believe it's on a Thursday. I did look it up to see if it's a busy night. It is. There's 10 games in the NHL that night. So, yeah, Chara's number 33 to be retired. That is going to take place on January 15th. So, again, Gary Bettman, when he's asked about expansion and being interviewed and talk today, and here are the 4 pillars that are needed if you want an expansion team. He did mention Quebec City, too, as a team that has expressed interest. So, for people wanting to hear Quebec City's name, there it is. He mentioned Atlanta, Houston, Quebec City, Kansas City as well. Kansas City has been rumored for decades as a place where the NHL could go and it could work, and I agree it could work there. It did not work the first time out, but that was there were a lot of issues that made that not work. But he says ownership. So he always says ownership first, and that is important. And I always say you got to have your billionaire. You got to have your billionaire owner with deep pockets. That's the most important thing. Market. So looking at the size of the market, looking at one thing that they always want to is a market that's going to increase interest in the National Hockey League. The arena, of course, is important. You have to have either an arena built that is NHL ready or plans to build said arena and the finances all set up and basically no concern that with the way that Arizona's bid for a new arena didn't work out. They don't want to be in that situation again. and he says making the league stronger are needed for expansion. So a market that they're not going to be looking to prop up, that kind of thing. He did mention Arizona as well. So he mentioned certain areas, and then he did throw in there that there's others that have shown interest. And he basically says that they're not in any formal proceedings because nobody's met all 4 of those criteria. Those 4 are the ones that are needed, and an official bid hasn't been made at this point. I also wanted to say, power rankings start this coming weekend. I did not do the preseason power rankings, not like the power rankings before the season starts. I did not do that this year. I didn't feel that there was necessarily a need for it. Full transparency, last year, the income on the channel was really, really low. And I was like, okay, I need to do those preseason power rankings. I've gone back and forth on it. Sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't. This year I decided not to. So the power rankings start this weekend, and just as a refresher, they post Sunday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. I do record them Saturday night, but I find that if they go up on Sunday morning, it gives that Saturday night review a little bit of time to be the last video on the channel so people can watch it and, pay attention to that, because once the power rankings go up, the view counts for everything else just seems to drop off. So the power rankings on Sunday morning, at the time that they're posted, usually is about 7 hours after the Saturday review's gone up. So there's enough time there, and I don't think it inconveniences people too much, and it means you don't have to stay up really, really late at night. I know some people did, but now they don't really have to. The power rankings go live. And I always post the Eastern time because that's where a lot of the viewers are. But thank you guys so much for all your support as always. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. That being said, I'm done for now, and I will talk to you again soon. I'm probably going to watch some baseball, so I will talk to you later.